Thank you, Peter. My name is Hans van Miert. I work for the Office of the National Coordinator on Counterterrorism in the Netherlands, and it's a great pleasure to be here. It's also a great pleasure to see all those Canadians having a wonderful Canada Day. I even got the badge just right now. I'm very pleased, and it's great to see them in their national outfits, their hockey outfits. And I must say, if today was not today, but tomorrow, I would be here standing in an orange outfit. Because tomorrow my team is playing Brazil, and of course we all hope they will win. And it's encouraging that many people really told me that they wanted the Netherlands to win. So thank you very much for that. So then later in the tournament, in the final, we can play Peter's team, and that will be really great, I guess, Peter. I'm delighted to be able to speak a few words at the launch of the ICSR study on prisons and terrorism. It was at the end of 2008 when Peter Neumann approached my organization and asked if we would like to get involved in this study on radicalization and de-radicalization in prisons. And after some consideration and a discussion with the keeper of our treasury, I was very happy to inform Peter that we would like to contribute very much. And in the end, this study was realized with the financial support of two other organizations too, two government organizations, the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade of Australia, and the Office for Security and Counterterrorism of the Home Office in the UK. There were several reasons for us to support this project, and one of which, of course, was the excellent reputation of ICSR and the quality of its products, even in its first year of existence. But there were other reasons too, of course, related to the subject of this study. My country, the Netherlands, adopted a system of concentrated detention of terrorists in 2005. And this was after the discovery and arrest of a network of violent extremists called the Hofstad Group in 2004. And one of the members of this Hofstad Group, he killed movie director Theo van Gogh on November 2nd, 2004, as you may well remember. Some of the detained members of this group started to radicalize other prisoners almost immediately. And after some consultation and research, our government decided to have a system of concentrated detention for terrorist prisoners. We had two sections in two different prisons in the country, of which only one of them is in use at the moment because, fortunately, there have been no major new networks developed in the Netherlands since 2004 and no major terrorist incidents. We are very lucky for that. Basically, we believe that our system of concentrated detention works quite well, but it does not mean that there are no points for discussion left. For instance, the detained terrorists are, of course, obviously prevented from directly influencing other prisoners, but will the united detention of group members not intensify their bond and strengthen their belief in their cause? Another one issue concerns the term of concentrated detention. Would it be preferable to move the detained terrorists at a certain moment to a regular form of detention? And what would be the suitable criteria to judge the eligibility for such a move? And the final question I will put forward concerns the reintegration of released terrorists in society. In what way this reintegration could already start during the prison term? And what would be the best way to challenge the ideas, the ideology that seduced these people to become terrorists in the first place? We believe that a lot can be learned from countries that have more experience with dealing with terrorist prisoners and programs focused on de-radicalization. It's remarkable that Western countries are only at the start of developing these programs in prisons themselves. And I'm convinced that the topics of consideration I mentioned and many more issues are dealt with very thoroughly in the report that is launched today. And I wish to congratulate Peter and his team because I think they did an excellent job with relatively limited resources and within a very acceptable term as well. Thank you, Peter. We can use it for the evaluation of our concentration system, which is almost finalized at this moment. It arrived just in time. Thank you for that. At this point, I need to stress that it has been carried out by ICSR in partnership with START, the National Consortium for the Study of Terrorism and Response to Terrorism of the University of Maryland. And of course, 16 experts who together wrote 15 country reports. I'm sure it will help our government to improve our policy on detainment of terrorists, and I hope it will be useful to other countries too. Finally, it's my pleasure to announce the two presenters of this session, Professor Gary Lafrie, Director of START, and after him, Peter Neumann, Director of ICSR, will speak. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hans. And notice I also have the Canada Day pin on. There's a very effective Canadian lobbying effort going on up front here. And I want to start by thanking Henry Sweetbaum, Peter Neumann, John Bew, Katie Rothman, and the whole staff of the ICSR for organizing and hosting this conference. And I know that's come up a couple of times, but what a great job they've done. As Hans just noted, I'm the director of the START Center. You can tell why we have an acronym. I won't even say the whole thing. It'll take up all my time. But we are a consortium of about 60 researchers at 40 universities around the world. We currently have more than 50 research projects ongoing on the human causes and consequences of terrorism. Our researchers have published dozens of academic papers and policy briefs, and if you need or are interested in more information, you can simply go to our website at start.umd.edu. If you forget that, if you just Google START at Maryland, you'll get there as well. So when Peter Neumann approached us and asked us to be a part of producing a study of de-radicalization programs around the world, I was immediately interested, because this is exactly the kind of project that START has been interested in supporting from the time we began about 6 years ago. Namely, it's a topic of great policy importance and one in which there has been thus far more speculation than hard empirical evidence. And I think, in fact, that this is a central challenge that many of the people in this room will be very aware of when it comes to terrorism in the modern age. Here you have an incredibly important policy issue on which there is surprisingly little empirical data, including some, even very basic kinds of information. I was struck that after 9/11, because of the way terrorism data around the world was collected, that it was even difficult to get information on how much domestic terrorism was occurring around the world. And you think about, imagine doctors trying to combat cancer without knowing how much cancer there is, or economists trying to combat unemployment without knowing how much unemployment there was. And this is really the situation we were facing a decade ago. So when this opportunity came up, we were very interested in it, because the overarching goal of START has been to support the collection and analysis of objective data on terrorism and its consequences, which is the main goal of this project. Many years ago, sociologist Irving Goffman called prisons total institutions. And what he was referring to really is the fact that because prisons have such an incredible ability to shape people's lives, they can have an incredible impact also on socialization. And I think there's little doubt that prisons have had connections to terrorism in the past. There are many, many examples of this. Prisons have played a huge role in the narratives, which is a word I've been using a lot in the last couple of days here, of many radical and militant movements in the modern era. We think of, for example, groups as diverse as Egyptian Islamists, German Marxists, Irish Republicans, have all regarded their imprisonment as a traumatic turning point in the history of their movements. Prisons are places of great vulnerability where identities may change, where radicalization may take place. They are places where people are more likely than in other situations to explore new beliefs and associations. People are deprived of their normal contacts with communities, with friends and family. They need security and protection. More than elsewhere, people are very vulnerable to all sorts of changes while they're in prison. But there's also a paradox here, because prisons also, on many occasions, have been the engines for peaceful change and transformation.